So let's talk about Trump's pick for ambassador to the United Nations, Elise Stefanik. Elise Stefanik's a congresswoman from New York. She gained a lot of notoriety last year going after the presidents and heads of Harvard University, Columbia University, all these other schools where they were having the big pro-Palestinian protest and anti-Israel, anti-Zionist protest. And she was saying basically that the people there were calling for violence and the administrators there failed to basically protect the students and stop when the rhetoric became violent. So, you know, fair enough on that. I'm all about people being able to protest, but there's a line where you can't be directly calling for violence against people, but also were there people inside these protests that were kind of stirring that up, getting that going, so that way they could justify coming in and shutting them down. I'm a bit of a free speech absolutist to a point, and really calling for violence is about the only thing I think you gotta put your foot down on that. But that's really easy to subvert a movement by just placing a few agent provocateurs in there and kind of getting a chant started up, and especially when it kind of blurs the lines. Like some of the stuff I've looked at, they say, well, the chants that they were saying were like not subliminal, but they were calls for violence, but indirectly it's what these chants mean. Like this chant actually means to kill somebody, even though they're not saying kill them. Kind of like when Trump was trying to tweet out that the January 6th protesters needed to be peaceful, and somehow the Democrats said that meant to be violent, which doesn't make any sense. So that's why you always got to be careful when you get involved in protest and groups and collective things where you don't actually have control and you can kind of get attached to a group or attached to somebody else that might be saying or doing something that you don't necessarily agree with. But anyway, back to Stefanik. So there she is. This is a picture of her with Netanyahu, and man, I tell you, this lady loves Israel. Like this lady loves Israel. She's all about foreign intervention. She's part of Foundation for Defense of Democracies, which is a neocon think tank. It's essentially just another arm of Israel's lobby for our government, and they got advisors like Bill Kristol, Newt Gingrich, Richard Pearl, all these other neocons that have a history of advocating for intervention and history of involvement with our government. She was also part of the Foreign Policy Initiative, which is now a defunct neocon think tank, which was again tied in with Bill Kristol and the neocons. So she was awarded the Dr. Miriam and Sheldon Adelson Defender of Israel Award by the Zionist Organization of America. And if you don't know who Miriam and Sheldon Adelson are, they're big time donors to the Trump campaigns. Some people have even said that getting Stefanik the post of UN ambassador was kind of kicked back to Miriam Adelson for all of the support that she gave to Trump during this recent election cycle. And if you think it's just hearsay, we can take a look at Stefanik here. This is her talking to a small caucus from the Israeli parliament earlier this year. And just listen to how committed this lady is to Israel. And I wonder, is she this committed to America? Let's listen to what she says.
As long as I serve the American people, I will defend George Washington's vision of religious pluralism and freedom. Today, this means crushing anti-Semitism at home.
And there's nothing wrong with that. Anti-Semitism is bad. You know what I mean? Like there should be no hate against any group of people. Like I can totally support, wanting to eliminate anti-Semitism. That's the same way with any type of hate, But I mean, people have the right to say that. Like if people want to be anti-Semitic, they can be anti-Semitic. You can't act on it. If people want to be racist, they can be racist. You can't act on it. So let's let her finish.
and supplying the state of Israel with what it needs, when it needs it, without conditions to achieve total victory in the face of evil.
I'm going to play that part back. So let's see. She says, give them whatever they want, whenever they want, with no conditions. Here, let's see.
Means crushing anti-Semitism at home and supplying the state of Israel with what it needs, when it needs it, without conditions to achieve total victory in the face of evil.
So no matter what, we're going to do whatever you say without any conditions to, protect us or benefit us. Even if you do another bombing of the USS Liberty like Israel did during the 6-Day War. A lot of people don't know about that. Israel actually attacked a clearly marked U.S. ship during their war with Egypt in the 6-Day War. Killed 34 crew members. Yeah. Look that up if you're not familiar with it. It's pretty crazy because, the ship was clearly marked U.S., and there's a lot of speculation as to what happened or what the confusion was. But, there were Israeli jets that flew by. They acknowledged the ship, knew it was there, and then proceeded to attack it. And they said that they didn't realize it was an American ship. But even Admiral Thomas Moore, who was the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff at the time, he said that he thought it was, a blatant lie and cover up, and accused LBJ of supporting that. So, so no matter what, we're going to support you, according to Elise Stefanik. She doesn't care what Israel does. We're going to give them whatever they want.
Chants of death to America are not hollow slogans. They are a promise that what happened here on October 7th could happen in the United States unless Hamas and its jihadist accomplices are eliminated. And it is the United States' high honor and high responsibility to support Israel's effort.
It's America's high honor and responsibility to support Israel. I thought America's responsibility was to protect American citizens and protect freedom here for American citizens. I didn't realize that we had responsibilities to Israel. Was that a new amendment that was added to the Constitution? I missed that part. I missed the part where our country's responsibility was to take care of Israel.
I have been clear at home, and I will be clear here. There is no excuse for an American president to block aid to Israel, aid that was duly passed by the Congress. There is no excuse to ease sanctions on Iran, paying a $6 billion ransom to the world's leading state sponsor of terror, or to dither and hide while our friends fight for their lives.
That's debatable whether or not Iran's the leading sponsor of state terror. Some people would argue that the United States government is the lead sponsor of terror, but that's, it's all subjective to who you're talking to. All these countries that we impose sanctions on, we have military bases all over the world. Some people would accuse the United States of being one of the largest state sponsors of terrorism.
No excuse, full stop. That's why I'm proud to have sponsored or backed every measure to aid Israel that has come before the United States Congress. Every single one. And it's why for years I have been a leading proponent and partner to President Trump in his historic support for Israeli independence and security, including moving the U.S. Embassy to its rightful place in Jerusalem. Israel is indeed a miracle, an outpost of freedom, of Western values, of civilization, a striking example of human potential, the physical embodiment of Herzl's maxim, if you will it, it is no dream.
I don't know why, but every time I hear her say that, it just bothers me the way she says it. She says, it is no dream. If you will it, it is no dream. Here, listen to it. I'll play it back.
Embodiment of Herzl's maxim, if you will it, it is no dream. It's the same founding ethos that we prize in America, the American dream.
Yeah, so let's have the American dream for Americans. I'm not worried about Israel. look, if Israel needs to protect itself and defend itself and whatever they need to do, then let them do that. We don't need to be taking a part in that. We don't need to be funding that. They need to support themselves. That's, that's not our problem. And they keep trying to conflate it and make it, something that, we have to deal with. We don't have to deal with that. One of the reasons that the Middle East and Iran is so messed up is because of what we've already done there. I've talked about it before. When we overthrew Mohammad Mossadegh in Iran, that's what led up to the Islamic Revolution in the 70s. There was a large, intellectual people side of Iran that wanted to develop, that wanted to westernize. And when they were trying to nationalize the oil and actually utilize their resources to take care of Iranian people instead of exporting it all to BP in Britain, all of a sudden there was a problem with that, and we had to shut that down and put the Shah back into power. If you read the book called All the Shah's Men by Stephen Kinzer, it's a great book. Documents how Kermit Roosevelt, the grandson of Teddy Roosevelt, was actually the CIA asset that was over there that helped orchestrate and lead the coup and completely destabilize their country. And I mean, that's where a lot of the resentment stems from with Iran, and we've continued to intervene in these countries, Afghanistan, Iran, Iraq. We've been meddling in these countries for decades, and it's typically at the benefit of Israel and Saudi Arabia. It benefits Israel and Saudi Arabia much more than it's benefited the United States. And so we'll take another look. This was Trump's ambassador to the UN last time, John Bolton. And let's listen. He talks about how Elise Stefanik and this other, the National Security Advisor, Mike Waltz, which we'll talk about him in another video. That these people are normal for John Bolton, and that's a problem. And Trump even talked about John Bolton being a wild card psycho on Joe Rogan, and now we're putting in people that basically get the approval of John Bolton, and John Bolton talks about that in this. He's like, well, maybe I shouldn't say that I like this guy because everybody knows how me and Trump's relationship is now. So let's listen to John Bolton talk about Elise Stefanik and Mike Waltz.
Advisor. John Bolton served as Trump's national security advisor in the first administration and joins us now. Ambassador, good to see you. Thank you, sir. I know Mike Waltz, full disclosure, is a friend of mine. I feel like this, Elise Stefanik, Susie Wiles, this is probably about as team normal as you get when it comes to Donald Trump picks.
Well, I think Elise, whom I've known for many years, can certainly do a fine job at the UN, and I think Mike Waltz will be a fine national security advisor. I should probably say I'll be for him or against him, whichever would help me more, given my relationship with his boss. It's interesting that, he was...
So you see, Elise Stefanik, Mike Waltz, these are team normal, is what that guy called it. He calls them team normal. Well, when it comes to United States foreign policy, we need to get away from normal and actually get to an American first foreign policy where we're non-interventionist and we're taking care of America and we focus on trade and commerce and, just getting along with other countries, not using military force to try to get our way, not using economic sanctions to try to, weaponize the dollar against all these countries. That's not going to benefit anyone. So again, like I said, personnel is policy. And when you look at a lot of the person, and yes, I know Tulsi Gabbard's been brought in, Kash Patel, Elon Musk, there's a lot of people that give you reason to be optimistic. And hopefully it's just, actual diversity of opinion, which matters much more than diversity of gender or race or any of that stuff, but diversity of opinion. So maybe that's the angle. I don't know, but I'm not going to not point out the people that I think we shouldn't be listening to. So, like I said, we need to be optimistic. Hopefully things go well with this Trump administration. I don't know. We'll see. But Elise Stefanik, Mike Waltz, Marco Rubio, these are some of the names that are coming out that really leave me kind of scratching my head and wondering what we're being set up for.